Do you have any actual friends?
Not anymore.
I'm sorry, Jax, for bringing up that thing earlier. And then you just act like you never do anything wrong and everybody loves you, when in reality you just f*** everything up for everyone else!
I have a theory. The Amazing Digital Circus is an indie animated show that was released only a year ago, which for me is a tad bit strange. I'm the guy who makes theories on preschool shows from the early 2000s like Bubble Guppies or Little Einsteins, but I'm expanding my reach to make a theory on something a little more recent that's still ongoing, and well, my theory could actually be proven right for. And oh boy, did I make a theory I'm pretty sure will get proven right. It solves one of the biggest mysteries going on with this show, and while slowly getting revealed on its own in the background, I think I already found the ending. If you liked my other theories, then this one is easily the most convincing of them all. This is the Digital Circus Mannequin theory. See, Digital Circus is a more mystery-oriented show than the normal ones I cover, with a few different little mysteries going on that all could get their own theories. But there's one central mystery that grabs me more than any other one because it seems to be the central point for where the show is going. Who is the Mannequin? He's this weird background character who always is menacing, watching the characters in random episodes, and in the latest episode 5 has a full shot at the end where we finally acknowledge him watching Ragatha before running away. Who he's watching is also actually very important, so keep that in mind. Now, there are a lot of theories on who this guy is. A common one is Dummy Doo, because maybe he just came in without a model skin as a disguise. But personally, I have a theory I think could be actually very possible and would make more sense with the narrative that is going on. See, the Digital Circus has released what each episode's main character's focus will be, and well, the episode 6, which is the next one, will be about Jax. So maybe this mannequin, who's getting more central point and importance as Jax himself is each episode, has a connection to Jax. My idea here is that the mannequin is an actual player, not an NPC. And I know this theory is roaming around the internet for stupid reasons, as people are just looking at the doors and going, OMG, he's on the door, look! But to be honest, that just means nothing, as the mannequin seems to be the default skin Kane uses for background extras and uses as a placeholder for the rooms that haven't been taken. No, I think this mannequin is a player character, or as Kane says it, a toy box character, but is also one we've met before and have proof exists other than just a door. I think the mannequin is Ribbit. Okay, so you either know who I'm talking about or you don't. It's okay, that's why I said he's kinda been talked about. See, in episode 5, Pomni asks Jax if he's had any friends, and Ragatha responds instantly, not anymore. This suggests he was friends with someone who was abstracted, and we kinda know who. See, in the intermission scene, we see him stop at what seems to be a frog named Ribbit's X'd out door. We know his name is Ribbit because Gooseworks made some art of him and called him that, but other than that, we don't know much about him at all. But what we do know is that he and the mannequin very much could be the same person and could even have a dark plot in the works. Let me explain. So we know Ribbit abstracted, that's pretty clear. He has an X on his door and this references Jack's only friend who is no longer around. But what we don't know is what happens after one abstracts. What does abstraction even mean? We're told these characters get sent to the cellar by Kane, but what happens when they're sent down there? Are they left there forever as these weird corrupted versions of themselves? Do they actually die for once? Well, maybe not. See, the more I thought about it, the more I realized how weird Kane is, and how his weirdness perpetuates to this theory. And not in the normal Kane is well Kane way, but in the way of he's kinda lazy, and also the straight up lies about what he can actually do. See, go back and watch any of the group adventure scenes. The backgrounds in these scenes are a jumbled mess of unfinished textures mushing into each other, because the actual characters aren't really gonna ever see them. And that's all Kane seems to care about, what is directly on his mind and in front of his players. He wants to impress them, for them to love his adventures, and with that being his only goal, anything not related directly to that he's very lazy on. Background characters are also usually just textureless basic mannequin models copied and pasted in the thousands, unless they have a speaking role and are relevant in Kane's mind. This made me wonder what happens when they go to the cellar. Well, it's dark, which we know that Queenie felt common before she went to the cellar. Kinger's also the calmest and most loose in the dark, and he's been in the circus the longest and is closest to abstraction by far, so maybe, just maybe, the cellar is designed to calm the abstracted players, and maybe they spent enough time there unabstract them. Which makes me wonder, if Ribbit unabstracted, what would happen? Would he come back? Maybe. Hey, maybe he escaped when the cellar was open for Cosmo. But if he did, what would he come back as? As a calmer, sentient version of that raging void-like monster? As the original player skin? Or even the original placeholder textualist version of every model in this world, a mannequin? Okay, now at first you may be thinking, wouldn't Kane know someone unabstracted? And well, yeah, I thought that too. Until I remembered, Kane kinda sucks at being Kane. He's not just lazy, he's very much unaware and less powerful than he says he is. Like when Cosmo unabstracted, he was not aware and even said, why didn't anybody tell me? Or when Pomni skipped the Doink adventure, he also did not know and was very confused. It truly seems that Kane's all-seeing eyes are, well, non-existent. Most of the time we see him watching the cast, he is physically watching them through a TV or just straight up in the distance. Kane also seems to not have full control of this world, as if he did, Bubble wouldn't be cursing and the moon wouldn't be flirting with him. All this together makes me believe if there was a player Kane didn't know about in the circus, especially one who abstracted, he simply would not realize. What would Ribbit being the mannequin exactly accomplish and mean? But then I thought about one thing. See, my main question when working on this theory was what exactly it meant for the show in the coming episodes. What would Ribbit being the mannequin accomplish and exactly mean for the show? Well, I believe Ribbit is seeking his revenge. See, we know a few things so far. That the mannequin, or from now on I'll just be calling Ribbit, seems almost sinister. The only scenes he's ever seen are, well, him watching the circus members in the background, and especially in the latest episode when we get a whole shot with the sinister music and a deep zoom in. He's very much being painted not just as a mystery, but an antagonistic force planning something. So I wondered, what could Ribbit want? Well, first off, he definitely wants revenge on Kane because he forgot him in there, and he's also just Kane, but I also think there's a deeper reason or person he's going after. Ragatha. We know Ribbit was abstracted, which from our current knowledge of Cosmo in his crazy room is simply being driven mad by the circus. But it doesn't just have to be that. Gangle almost abstracted because of how much the people in the circus, mainly Jax, treat her. Or Kinger, who's on the edge of abstracting always from losing his wife who did abstract. Now the only thing we know about Ribbit is that he was friends with Jax, being alluded to as Jax's only friend, who is no longer around, and by Ragatha in particular. This makes me think if someone is Jax's friend, they're probably similar to Jax enough to not despise him, especially with how headstrong everyone is with how bad he is. So I assume characters like Ragatha would treat him just like they treat Jax. Plus, Pomni, Zooble, and most likely even Gangle wouldn't be around yet due to what we know about ages. The only people in the circus would be Ragatha, Jax, Kinger, and Queenie. My idea here is that maybe Ragatha and her overbearing possessive kindness and attitude shattered and even abstracted Ribbit. It would give Jax a reason to believe what he believes about Ragatha, especially when he brings up his very weird and specific opinion about her right after she mentions Ribbit. But this means that Ribbit went crazy and abstracted because of Ragatha. Now, I'm not blaming her. The Ragatha hate is a little silly online, but assuming his personality based on Jax, him abstracting because of her makes sense. And well, if he came back and was just like Jax, a narcissistic, mentally unwell asshole, then the chance he would want revenge isn't that low, which means Ragatha is not safe in the digital circus, that the most likely soon-to-be real antagonist has a personal grudge with her, and as she's already losing Pomni, never had Jax, and while friends with the rest of the circus, they have their own dynamic, she's left kinda lost at having no one, which I'm sure he'll use to his advantage. If you want a final point of evidence, I suggest rewatching the final scene where we see Ribbit watching the gang, but he actually isn't watching all of them, only one. Who is he watching? Ragatha. And that is the Digital Circus Mannequin Theory.